For 40 years, the alarm clock told him who he was. It rang before sunrise, it pulled him out of bed, it sent him into traffic, meetings, deadlines, lunch breaks, bills, bosses, coworkers, complaints, and the same road home every evening. And for most of those years, he told himself one simple thing. Someday, this will all be over. Someday, there will be no alarm. Someday, there will be no boss asking where the report is, no customer calling at the worst possible time, no commute, no uniform, no office politics, no fake smiles, no pretending to care about things that stopped mattering years ago. Someday, he would retire. And when that day finally came, everyone congratulated him. There was a cake, there were handshakes, there were old stories. Someone said, now you can finally enjoy life. But the next morning, he woke up to a silence he had never planned for. And that was when the lie began to show itself. The lie most Americans believe about retirement is not that retirement will be easy. Most people know there will be bills. They know health can change. They know Social Security may not cover everything. They know the stock market can fall, prices can rise, and medical costs can surprise them. The deeper lie is more emotional than financial. It is the belief that retirement is a finish line, that if you can just make it there, happiness will be waiting. That after decades of work, life will finally become simple. That free time automatically becomes peace. That a paid-off house automatically becomes freedom. That grandchildren, hobbies, travel, golf, gardening, fishing, church, or a recliner in front of the television will somehow arrange themselves into a meaningful life. But retirement does not create meaning by itself. It only removes the structure that used to hide the emptiness. And for many people, that is the part no one warned them about. For generations, Americans were sold a picture of retirement that looked almost too clean. A smiling couple walking on a beach, a motorhome facing the mountains, a fishing boat at sunrise, a quiet porch, a golf course, a cruise ship, a calendar with nothing written on it. The promise was simple. Work hard now, enjoy later. Delay the good years, sacrifice today, save what you can. Push through the stress, ignore the exhaustion, put off the trip, skip the hobby, stay in the job, keep the health insurance, keep the mortgage paid. One day, it will all be worth it. And sometimes it is. But the picture left something out. It never showed the man who retires and realizes all his friends were work friends. It never showed the woman who finally has free time but no longer has the energy she imagined. It never showed the couple who dreamed of traveling, only to discover they no longer want the same life. The brochure sold freedom. It forgot to explain what freedom feels like when you do not know what to do with it. People spend decades begging for more time. Then retirement gives them more time than they know how to hold. At first it feels wonderful. Sleeping in feels like victory. Slow coffee feels like luxury. A weekday trip to the grocery store feels almost rebellious. There is no supervisor, no schedule, no one asking why you are not available. But after a while, the blank calendar can become strangely heavy. Monday feels like Saturday. Tuesday feels like Saturday. The week has no shape. The body is free, but the mind starts searching for an assignment. For some people, this is peaceful. For others, it becomes unsettling. They miss the rhythm they used to complain about. They miss being needed. They miss the feeling that the day had a reason before it began. And that is one of retirement's first hard lessons. The problem was never simply that work took too much time. The problem was that work had quietly been giving time a structure. For many Americans, a job is not just a paycheck. It is an identity. For decades, people introduced themselves through work. I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, I'm a mechanic, I'm a contractor, I'm a manager, I'm a police officer. I'm a small business owner. I'm the one people call when something breaks. Then one day, the title is gone. The phone rings less. The emails stop. The problems become someone else's problems. The younger people take over. The company keeps moving without you. And even if retirement was wanted, even if it was planned, even if the money is enough, something inside can still ask a frightening question. If I am no longer useful there, where am I useful now? This is why some people go back to work, not only for money, but because they miss having a role. They do not miss every meeting. They miss mattering. Of course, money matters. Anyone who says it does not matter has probably never worried about rent, medication, insurance, groceries, property taxes, or a repair bill arriving at the worst possible time. A retirement without enough money can feel like a trap. But money is not the whole story. There are people with modest savings who build peaceful, simple, deeply satisfying lives. And there are people with large portfolios who remain anxious, restless, and unsure. Because retirement asks two questions, not one. The first is, can you afford to stop working? The second is, do you know how to live when work no longer tells you who to be? Most planning focuses on the first question. Few people prepare seriously for the second. They calculate withdrawals, Social Security, taxes, Medicare, inflation, and investment returns, but they never calculate how many quiet mornings they can handle before they start feeling invisible. Many people build their retirement dreams around a version of themselves that may not exist when retirement arrives. They imagine long road trips. Then their back starts hurting. They imagine hiking with friends. Then the knee replacement gets delayed. They imagine traveling the country. Then one spouse becomes tired more easily. They imagine babysitting grandchildren every week. Then they realize energy is not the same at 70 as it was at 55. This is not meant to sound cruel. It is simply the truth of timing. Retirement is often treated like a storage room for every dream we postponed. But dreams have expiration dates. Not always, but often. The body changes, the people around us change, the world becomes more expensive, the courage to start something new becomes harder to summon. That is why waiting too long can be its own kind of cost. The lie says, save life for later. The truth says, later may not come with the strength you expected. For many Americans, the house was the reward. It held the marriage, the children, the holidays, the birthday parties, the Christmas decorations, the tools, the boxes, the furniture, the good dishes, the guest room, the basement, the garage, and the memories. But after retirement, the same house can quietly change its meaning. The stairs become steeper, the yard becomes heavier, the rooms become emptier, the maintenance becomes more expensive. The roof, the heater, the plumbing, the insurance, the taxes, all of it keeps asking for money and energy. A home can be a blessing, but it can also become an unpaid job. And many people do not notice the change until the house they once worked so hard to own begins owning their retirement. They say they are staying because of memories. But sometimes they are staying because letting go feels like admitting a whole season of life is over. Every generation leaves something behind. But baby boomers and older Americans are facing a painful truth that many did not expect. Their children often do not want the stuff. Not the heavy furniture, not the china cabinet, not the crystal glasses, not the boxes of paperwork, not the formal dining set, not the collections that took years to build. Not the decorations carefully wrapped and saved for decades. To the parent, those things are proof of a life. To the children, they may be a burden. That difference hurts. Because the older generation often save things with love. They believed they were preserving family history. They believed someone would want the good things, the expensive things, the sentimental things. Then the answer comes gently, awkwardly, or sometimes brutally. No, Mom. No, Dad. We don't have room. And suddenly, retirement becomes not only about money and time, but about deciding what parts of a life should be carried forward. Work creates relationships almost by accident. You see the same people every day, you complain about the same problems, you share small jokes, lunches, weather comments, family updates, and frustrations. Some people annoy you. Some become real friends. Many are somewhere in between. Then retirement tests, those relationships. The phone does not ring as often as expected. The invitations slow down. The people who promise to stay in touch are busy. And a person may discover that many of their friends were really just people who shared the same building, the same shift, or the same paycheck. This can be painful, but it can also be clarifying. Retirement reveals which relationships were built on convenience and which were built on love. It teaches that peace is not having many people around you. Peace is having the right people close enough and the wrong people far enough away. Retirement does not only change the individual, it changes the marriage. For decades, many couples were protected by routine. One went to work, the other had a rhythm. There were errands, duties, schedules, responsibilities, and enough separation to keep certain tensions quiet. Then, retirement brings both people into the same space for more hours than they have shared in years. Sometimes it is beautiful. Sometimes it is difficult. One wants to travel, the other wants to stay home. One wants to spend, the other is afraid. One wants quiet, the other wants activity. One imagined retirement as togetherness, the other imagined it as independence. And suddenly the couple realizes they planned their finances together, but not their days. That is another retirement lie. People think the hard conversation is, do we have enough money? But sometimes the harder question is, what kind of life are we actually trying to live together? There is one beautiful truth hidden inside retirement. You no longer have to be available to everyone. You do not have to sit in meetings with people you would never choose. You do not have to laugh at every office joke. You do not have to manage every personality. You do not have to ask permission for a Tuesday morning. This is one reason many retirees feel a kind of freedom that younger people cannot fully understand. They are not just leaving work. They are leaving performance. They are leaving forced politeness. They are leaving shallow relationships. They are leaving rooms where they had to shrink themselves to keep the peace. But even this freedom has to be handled carefully. If you cut away everything, you may find peace, or you may find isolation. The goal is not to disappear from life. The goal is to choose life more honestly. Retirement should not make your world smaller by accident. It should make your world more intentional by design. Many people carry an old retirement dream for so long that they never stop to ask whether they still want it. They wanted a boat at 45. At 70, they may want a quiet garden. They wanted to travel the world at 50. At 72, they may prefer sleeping in their own bed. They wanted a big house full of family. Later, they may want a smaller home that does not exhaust them. There is no shame in changing, but there is danger in obeying an old dream that belongs to a younger version of yourself. Retirement satisfaction often begins with honesty. Not, what did I used to want? Not, what did the brochure tell me I should want? Not what will impress other people. But what kind of day actually feels good now? That question is simple, but many people avoid it for years, because answering it honestly may require letting go of the life they spent decades imagining. The happiest retirement is not always the most exciting one. Sometimes it is smaller than expected. A morning walk, a dog waiting by the door, a garden bed, coffee with a neighbor, volunteering twice a week, a phone call with an old friend, a simple meal, a chair by the window, a project in the garage, a church group, a library card, a grandchild's baseball game. Younger people may look at this and see boredom. Older people often understand it differently. Peace is not emptiness. Peace is the absence of unnecessary noise. After decades of rushing, proving, earning, fixing, pleasing, and surviving, a simple day can become a luxury. But that kind of retirement does not happen automatically. It has to be protected. Protected from clutter, protected from toxic people, protected from overspending, protected from old obligations that no longer deserve your remaining energy. A small life can feel enormous when it finally belongs to you. Purpose does not retire. It changes clothes. For decades, purpose may have looked like raising children, paying the mortgage, building a career, serving customers, managing a team, keeping a business alive, or getting through one more hard year. After retirement, purpose must become more personal. No one assigns it. No one pays you for it. No one gives you a title for it. That is why it can be difficult. But it can also be liberating. Purpose might become mentoring younger people. It might become caring for a spouse. It might become fixing old bicycles for neighborhood kids. It might become teaching, volunteering, writing family stories, growing food, joining a board, helping at church, or simply becoming the steady person others can count on. The lie says purpose ends when work ends. The truth is better. Purpose was never owned by your employer. It was always yours. A real retirement plan is not only a number, it is a design for your days. Where will you go on Tuesday morning? Who will notice if you do not show up? What will make you move your body? Who can you call without pretending? What will you learn? What will you stop carrying? What will you give away? What will you finally forgive? What will you do when the house is quiet and no one needs you for anything urgent? These questions may matter as much as the balance in the account, because money can keep the lights on, but it cannot automatically give the room a reason to glow. The strongest retirement plans include income, healthcare, housing, and taxes. But they also include friendship, movement, contribution, simplicity, courage, and a place to belong. The best retirees are not always the richest. They are often the ones who built a life they do not need to escape from. The tragedy is not that people retire. The tragedy is that many wait until retirement to start asking the most important questions. What do I actually value? Who do I want near me? What am I keeping only because I am afraid to let go? What parts of my life still feel alive? What am I saving for a future that may never arrive? Who needs to hear from me while I still have time? What burden can I remove from my children? What dream should I stop pretending I still want? What would make the next 5 years feel honest? These are not depressing questions. They are freeing questions. Because the goal of retirement is not to reach the end with the most possessions, the largest house, the busiest calendar, or the most impressive stories. The goal is to arrive at a life that finally feels like yours, not the company's, not the culture's, not the neighbor's, yours. So what is the retirement lie most Americans believe until it is too late? It is the belief that retirement itself will save you, that the last paycheck will automatically bring peace, that the empty calendar will automatically become freedom, that the house will always feel like home, that the money will remove every fear, that the people you worked with will become lifelong friends, that the dreams you postponed will still fit the person you become. But the truth is not hopeless. The truth is kinder than the lie. Retirement can be beautiful. It can be peaceful, honest, simple, and deeply meaningful, but it is not a finish line. It is a mirror. It shows you what your life was built around. It shows you what was real and what was only routine. It shows you what you carried too long. And if you are brave enough to look, it gives you one more chance. Not just to stop working, but to start living on purpose